Assalamu alaikum. Hello world. This is Songlap News Now. Biden welcomes further US Bangladesh engagement. White House. Biden welcomes further US Bangladesh engagement. White House. Dhaka, September 25, 2024 BSS. US President Joseph R. Biden and Bangladesh Chief Advisor Professor Mohammad Yunus have affirmed the close partnership between Washington and Dhaka, which is rooted in shared democratic values and strong people-to-people ties. President Biden welcomed further engagement between the two governments and offered continuous US support as Bangladesh implements its new reform agenda, said a White House statement after the two leaders met on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly (UNGA) in New York on Tuesday. The US President congratulated Professor Yunus on his recent appointment as the head of the interim government of Bangladesh. Professor Yunus was sworn in as the chief advisor of the interim government on August 8 last, after ousted Sheikh Hasina resigned to the president and fled the country in the face of a student-led mass uprising against her government. Professor Yunus seeks Pakistan's support to revive SARRC. Professor Yunus seeks Pakistan's support to revive SARRC. New York, September 25, 2024 BSS. Bangladesh Chief Advisor Professor Mohammad Yunus on Wednesday called for the revival of the SARRC as a top platform for regional cooperation in South Asia. The chief advisor made the call when he met Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly session at the UN headquarters in New York. During the meeting, the two leaders underscored the need for revitalizing the bilateral cooperation between the two countries. Professor Yunus said reviving SARRC would be a good way to start it and South Pakistan's support. Shehbaz Sharif promised his support for the initiative and suggested that both the countries should move step by step in reviving the regional platform. Sharif said Bangladesh and Pakistan should open a new page in their relations to enhance cooperation in various aspects. It's very essential to revive our relations, he said. Sharif expressed Pakistan's interest in investing Bangladesh's textile and leather sectors. Professor Yunus proposed an exchange of youth programs between the two countries. They also discussed renewing foreign secretary level talks and reactivating the joint commission between the two countries. Foreign advisor Tauhid Hossain was also present during the meeting. South African President Ramaphosa graced Professor Yunus on UNGA. South African President Ramaphosa graced Professor Yunus on UNGA sidelines. New York, September 25, 2024. BSS. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa met Chief Advisor Professor Mohammad Yunus at the UN headquarters in New York on Wednesday. The South African President greeted the Bangladesh Chief Advisor, according to the CIS press wing. Both the leaders exchanged pleasantries on the occasion. Professor Yunus held a bilateral meeting with Pakistan Prime Minister Mohammad Shehbaz Sharif in New York today. He will also join a bilateral meeting with Nepal Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli on the sidelines of the UNGA. The chief advisor is scheduled to join a reception hosted by US President Joe Biden at 17:30 p.m. New York time. Italian Prime Minister calls for opening new page in ties with Bangladesh. Italian Prime Minister calls for opening new page in ties with Bangladesh. New York, September 24, 2024, BSS. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni today called upon Bangladesh to open a new page in the relationship between Rome and Dhaka, saying Italians are friends of Bangladesh. The Italian premier made the call when she met Chief Advisor Professor Mohammad Yunus at the UN headquarters in New York on the sidelines of the annual session of the UN General Assembly on Tuesday, local time. During the meeting, Professor Yunus gave a brief outline of the student-led mass uprising, which he said has created new opportunities for Bangladesh, pressing the reset button for the entire nation. Meloni said Italy would support the Professor Yunus-led interim government in its move to carry out vital reforms in key sectors. Absolutely, you can count on us, she said. Let us try to open a new page in our relationship, she added. The chief advisor urged the Italian leader to formalize migration from Bangladesh, paving the way of entry of more Bangladeshi workers in Italy through legal channels, which he said would cut risky illegal migration. Meloni agreed, saying both nations should work together to stop irregular migration and conduct training for people planning to work in Italy. Energy and Power Advisor Faizul Kabir Khan, Senior Secretary Lamia Murshid, and Chief of Protocol Khondokar Masudul Alam were present at the meeting. Chief Advisor Nepalese PM discussed enhancing energy trade cooperation. Chief Advisor Nepalese Prime Minister discussed enhancing energy trade cooperation. New York, September 25, 2024, BSS. Chief Advisor Professor Mohammad Yunus and Nepalese Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli today discussed enhancing energy, trade and economic cooperation between Bangladesh and Nepal. They spoke about the cooperation at their bilateral meeting at the UN headquarters here on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly UNGA on Wednesday afternoon, local time. As the two leaders acknowledged the growing presence of Nepalese students in Bangladesh. Delighted to meet the Chief Advisor Professor Mohammad Yunus discussed Nepal-Bangladesh relations focusing on energy and transit cooperation, tourism, cultural exchanges, educational ties and cooperation in regional multilateral forums, the Nepal's Prime Minister said. About the outcomes of the meeting, Chief Advisor's Press Secretary Shafiqul Alam said a cordial meeting was held between Professor Yunus and KP Sharma Oli. During the meeting, they discussed how energy and trade cooperation can be enhanced between the two countries in the future, he said. The press secretary said Nepal has surplus hydro energy while it will be able to export hydropower to the South Asian countries, including Bangladesh, within 2 or 3 years. And the issue was discussed in the meeting. He said Bangladesh has a long and deeper relation with Nepal, and the people-to-people interactions between the two neighbors are very deep, mentioning that many Nepalese students come to Bangladesh every year to study. Alam said Professor Yunus and Oli discussed ways to enhance energy, trade and economic cooperation between Bangladesh and Nepal. He said Bangladesh will likely to sign an agreement to import 40 megawatts power from Nepal. Alongside the Bangladesh chief advisor shared his 3-0 idea with the Nepalese premier. Professor Yunus also met USAID Administrator Samantha Power, Prime Minister of Pakistan Shehbaz Sharif, UN Human Rights Commissioner Volker Turk, World Bank President Ajoy Bongo, and Chief Executive Officer of Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation Mark Suzman on the UNGA sidelines. He also addressed a UN high-level event on social business, youth and technology and met with a group of human rights CSOs. He joined a conversation on climate change by the New York Times live streams from New York Times studio. Chief Advisor seeks world leaders' steps to end Rohingya crisis. Chief Advisor seeks world leaders' steps to end Rohingya crisis. New York, September 25, 2024, BSS, urging the international community to come forward to resolve the long pending Rohingya crisis. Chief Advisor Professor Dr. Muhammad Yunus has said, if this crisis is not resolved, not only Bangladesh but the entire region will also fall into trouble. We have to be careful. We must pay attention to this, he said, while speaking at a high-level discussion about the Rohingya crisis on the sidelines of the annual session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York on Tuesday evening. Foreign Affairs Advisor Mohammad Tawhid Hussain, High Commissioner for Refugees, Filippo Grandi, ICC Prosecutor Karim A. Khan, and IOM Director General Amy Pope, among others, spoke at the event. Speaking on the occasion, Professor Yunus proposed rethinking the solution to the Rohingya crisis to the international community. First of all, we want the UN Secretary General to organize a conference on the Rohingya crisis in the presence of all parties involved as soon as possible, he said. Reviewing the overall situation of the Rohingya crisis, the chief advisor said a new and far-sighted solution should be proposed to resolve the crisis. Secondly, he said there is a need to revive the Joint Response Plan program conducted jointly by the United Nations and Bangladesh. Since there is a lack of funds to spend on Rohingyas, the process of raising money should be strengthened with political decisions, Professor Yunus said. In the third proposal, he said the international community should come forward with sincere support to ensure justice for the crimes of genocide committing against the Rohingya people, to ensure long-term peace and security in Myanmar. Justice for these Rohingyas who were persecuted by Myanmar's military junta must be ensured, he said. High Commissioner for Refugees Filippo Grandi said he was honored to participate in the discussion on Rohingya crisis led by Professor Yunus. Like every year, the event was held, but the presence of Dr. Yunus and his vision made this discussion particularly important. We must continue our efforts to end discrimination, statelessness, and forced displacement of the Rohingya people, he added. Talking to BSS after the meeting, Chief Advisor's Press Secretary Shafiqul Alam said this event on the Rohingya crisis was very successful. All praised Bangladesh's efforts and reiterated their place of continued support for Rohingyas. He said, IOM Director General Amy Pope said the Rohingya people should not be forgotten. So all should do more to resolve this crisis and continue the necessary support and long-term process of solution to this crisis. The IOM chief said it is committed to doing everything possible to achieve this goal. While participating in the high-level UNGA sidelines event on Rohingya crisis, US Under Secretary of State for Civilian Security, Democracy and Human Rights, Ujra Jaya announced nearly $199 million in new assistance for Rohingya refugees and communities hosting them. Meanwhile, during the ongoing UN General Assembly session, some Rohingya refugees in Bangladesh sent a message to world leaders asking, "Do not make us frustrated." They, in the video message, said the Rohingya community should not be forgotten. This is the voice-over text of this news published in the Bangladesh সংবাদ সংস্থা on September 25, available throughout September 26. Thanks for watching. Comment, share and subscribe.